Agates, one of the most collectible, one of the most desirable stones that you can find in the Great Lakes area. And actually, they're found all over the world. They are very famous. They are very collectible. People love them. Kings, everybody loves to find an agate and use an agate maybe as jewelry. Agates are even mentioned in the Bible. So agates are awesome. There's no question about that. Now, this video is only going to talk about agates, cold water agates, Lake Superior agates, skipping atom agates, maggots, and it's not going to be the most comprehensive video that you can watch about agates, but maybe it's like a beginner kind of agate video that you can look at, and maybe you can go out and find something similar. I'll give you just a little bit of information, and then you can go deep with some other material out there, books and videos and so forth. I have some agates that I'm going to show you. I dug out some of mine that I have found. I hate to say it, but I did buy a couple. We'll take a look at those. You'll get a good idea of what you're looking for. This is my first agate. I was at a farmer's market in South Haven, Michigan, and I had just begun to try to find the most collectible rocks and fossils in the Great Lakes. And there was this guy there that was selling rocks, and I saw this agate. I bought this one just so I knew, okay, this is what I'm supposed to look for. Translucent, kind of a rotten potato-looking husk, limonite staining, self-organizing bands, which aren't really all that obvious on this particular one, but they are there. They're very faint. So that helped a lot, at least to know what I was looking for. But we mostly vacation on Lake Michigan, and I knew I wasn't going to find very many agates on Lake Michigan. A few years later, we went on a vacation to Lake Superior to see all the sights, and I bought some books from the agate lady at the Gitchigumi Museum. She, I guess, was feeling generous. She gave me some kind of rough-looking agates just so that my wife could hide them on the beach, and then I'm supposed to find them. This is a little test. I took those agates and did what she suggested. I've since cut and polished those rough agates and given most of it away. I just saved these two pieces from all that. And as you can see, translucent, self-organizing bands, some eyes, and a little bit of quartz in there as well. On another vacation to Lake Michigan in Wisconsin, the Clay Banks area, my granddaughter and I picked up a bunch of these. Now, I thought they were agates. I wanted them to be agates. Okay, translucent, self-organizing bands, beautiful, nice. Now, on our next trip to Lake Superior, we went to see the agate lady again. I showed her this one of all the ones that we picked up, and she said it wasn't technically a Lake Superior agate, but it was an agatized fossil. Maybe I'll pronounce this wrong. Stromatoporoid. I call them stromas just for short. They're ancient sponges. And she rang the bell for it. This little thing that she does when she identifies an agate for somebody, then if it's an agate, she rings the bell for them. My most recent trip to Lake Superior was with my son and my grandson. And my grandson found an agate, and the agate lady rang the bell for him. And I thought that was a lot of fun. And I showed her this, an agate host rock that I found. The host is there and the agate is there on the inside, but not very much is showing. So the agate lady didn't ring the bell for this one because it was mostly host rock. And finally, my wife and I were on a vacation in Israel, and we went across the border to Jordan to see Petra. Amazing, amazing place. Petra was great. We rode into Petra on horseback like Indiana Jones. But there are a lot of people there selling things to the tourists. And one little kid wanted to sell me an agate. Now, I didn't really want it. I told him no a couple of times.
You want to buy for your wife? She'll love you more.
No.
Silver, not too much.
No.
3 for $1.
Finally gave in just so that he would have some success for the day and take home some money. Now, he said something to me about this being a shadow agate, and the priests considered them to be sacred, and I had no idea what he was talking about, but here it is, and it's a nice memory. Now, when you think of agates, such as Lake Superior agates, think igneous, which in Latin means fire or fiery. Think volcanoes, hot molten lava, gas bubbles that are going to fill up with minerals and self-organize. When you think of cold water agates, think sedimentary, silicified, agatized fossils. Think limestone or chert. Now, me personally, I'm partial to cold water agates, because you get the agate and you also get a fossil. Sort of a double dipping. I have found cold water agates on Lake Michigan beaches in Leland, South Haven, Pier Cove. These are all in Michigan. I also found one recently in Lake Erie. Now, these are not translucent for the most part, but they have bands and they have the distinction also of being alive at one point in their history. The host fossils in these are mainly horn corals, and there's one brachiopod here. Now, the last here that I'm going to show you is the Skipinatum agate. I only have one of these. These are pretty rare. I found this at Grandma's Beach in Torch Lake, Michigan. How did this form? God only knows. Now, I love the zigzag pattern. And even though it isn't translucent, it is amazing in its own way. Now, this rock is maybe an agate. So some would call it a maggot. Now, I'm guessing cold water agate, maybe an ancient sponge, agatized, maybe silicified, but I haven't really polished it or anything to clean it up very much to get a good idea. I'm just showing this because this is the kind of thing that you might find on the beach, and you might just toss it to one side, but you ought to investigate just a little bit further. Now, if you've stuck around this long, then here's the bonus material, I guess we could call it. So you're out looking for anything interesting by way of rocks, and you come upon something like this. And it looks kind of like, okay, fossilicious, maybe a little bit agate, or there's lines, there's colors. It looks like all kinds of rock material, just all wadded up with minerals and who knows what all is. So, wow. What would this look like if I was to cut it? Cut it in half. Well, that's exactly what I thought. So I cut it in half, and then I took it to a friend who has one of those powerful polishers, and he started to polish it for me, and I took a look at it and I said, well, okay, let's not finish this because it's just not turning out the way I would like it to. Because sometimes, you know, you think, oh, that'll look great cut up. When it comes right down to it, yeah, it's kind of cool, but maybe not what you were expecting. Not the spectacular kind of look that you were after. So this is what it looks like. I mean, it is pretty nice. I mean, there's no question. This is, I imagine, an ancient sponge, a stroma, is what I call them for short. The question now is it also agatized? Is it translucent? Well, let's take a look. So yes, it is translucent, at least in this part. Doesn't mean it's an agate though, but it is translucent. Not everything that is translucent is an agate. I mean, that's not an agate. Is it collectible? Absolutely. Let's see what it looks like with the lights turned off. Okay, that's what it looks like with the lights turned off. So it is very translucent, but not agatized, that at least that I can see, but certainly fossilicious. I hope this video is giving you just a little bit of information about agates and minerals and fossils and cold water agates, and maybe enough information so that when you're out there on the beach and you find something, you might know a little bit more about what it is and whether to save it or whether to leave it right there. And I hope that you also have seen that, hey, there are some places to go that may produce a pretty cool specimen, like Grandma's Beach, for example. It just happens to be Christmas next week, so Merry Christmas to you if you're watching this in December. And get out there and find yourself some agates.